2016 is another historic milestone in the life of our nation. Elections, a time for registered voters to choose its leaders from the presidency to the vice presidency, the Senate and the House, and finally local government leaders. Now, who are they and what is their platform of government? The Catholic Church launched Gabay to inform and educate our voters in voting the right leaders for our people and our country. And joining us tonight is Father Francis Lucas, the Executive Director of the Catholic Media Network. Good evening, Father, and welcome to NewsLife.
Good evening, Robert, and all our viewers.
Now, Father, to start us off, why did the CBCP and the Catholic Media Network launch Gabay? What is this all about?
The Gabay was launched by all the Christian groups in the Philippines, not only the Catholics, but this was the initiative of the lay Catholics also, with all the different Christian religions or sects in the Philippines. And their objective is to provide a gabay, a guide for all the voters for transformative leadership. So the group's name is Philippine Movement for Transformative Leadership, so that society will be transformed through transformative leadership.
Now, what kind of campaigns or awareness campaigns is going to be done through this?
We are providing gabays, which is divided into four main characteristics of a candidate. And each characteristics will have 6 or 4 subcategories which you will score from 1 to 5. And then when you get the total score, then you will endorse that candidate.
Now, what 4 qualities are here?
Well, it is divided into 4 Tagalog words. No?
Okay.
Character, which is character, your character, your dignity. Second would be your kakayahan or capability. Because you have to have experience, you have to have a capacity to lead the country or the place where you're supposed to be a leader as a politician. Third would be loyalty or katapatan. You have to be loyal to God, first and foremost, to the beliefs of the Christianity, to also have a heart for the poor. So you have to be loyal to that. And last but not the least is katotohanan, truthfulness. You cannot do hanky-panky stuff while you're a leader because, corruption is very near everybody and it's so tempting to corrupt in a society that is plagued by corruption. So after you do the tallying and scoring, you endorse that, and then there are 2 groups here. The movement itself, and then the people's primary. So then they will support that candidate later. But the CBCP does not endorse a candidate. They just are part of the team or the group who proposed this gabay.
Now, Father, you have observed several elections before, and the last one was the 2013 midterm elections. Now, in your observance, is our country, our voters, mature enough right now to really discern or to really look on who they should really vote as the future leaders?
The CBCP, under the leadership of Archbishop Soc Villegas, who is now the present president, in his pastoral letter of bringing Christ into politics, his last item is education of the people. There are others that he talked about, like dynasties, inclusiveness in growth, and the primaries also for election, and never forget the poor. So education is still there, very important, because of the changes in society and the way we vote. We're still plagued by the patronage system. Pagka mag-anak kita, if you're part of my extended family, if you are my nino, if you are my friend, then I vote for you without really analyzing or votes. So these are the things that has to change. That's why the gabay is being suggested by the Christian groups.
Now, Father, you mentioned political dynasties. There are attempts to pass an anti-dynasty law, but it actually has failed. Now, what do you think should the people look for now? And we've seen there are a lot of families who are in power right now. So what should we do in terms of creating more awareness, as you say, to be a little bit more mature, discern on who our next leaders should actually be?
The president of the CBCP, in their pastoral letter about bringing Christ to politics, specifically mentioned dynasties. He was Archbishop Vegas was thankful to God that what has been done in the Philippines. We have now a better future through the years, and especially during the term of the president, economic growth. But that has to be pursued with inclusiveness. Likewise, it was mentioned about dynasties because a lot of Congress has not passed the law, but it's there in the Constitution, so we have to follow it. Because what do you mean by dynasty? How do you stop it? What are the rules? But it has not been explained or expressed and turned into a law, a Republic Act. So that's the CBCP sees this as something that is very important in the future of the country.
This gabay that the CBCP and the Catholic Media Network has launched, how wide is this reach, and how are you going to go and create that?
During the launching, actually the lead person here is Alex, who was mentioned by the president himself during his SONA. Part of the principle here is if you join the Philippine Movement for Transformative Leadership, not any of them will run. Of course, the bishops are bishops, and they cannot run. Even priests cannot run for elections unless you remove your cassock and put it, somewhere else. But then, what's important here is, as you push for it, there was an estimate of a modest estimate. I didn't do the estimate. It was the main conveners. They call it conveners. All of them are lay people, and some of the pastors. So they were thinking that a modest estimate would be 10 million. Very modest.
Now, Father, as a final word, how do you think, what advice would you give our voters, especially the young voters, this coming elections in 2016?
Our vote is sacred. It is our chance and our opportunity in the democratic country. So we have to look at it as something very important in our lives, in the life of the nation and our communities. In so doing, let us not forget what Micah 6:8 says. You and the person you're going to put into power to rule over you, to guide you, to defend you, to be just with you, are three things. It says, act justly, love tenderly, and walk humbly with your God.
Well, there's much work to be. On that note, Father, thank you very much for joining us here tonight on NewsLife. That was Father Francis Lucas, the Executive Director of the Catholic Media Network.